me say something about inculturation of elements which we have in our Schoenstatt spirituality, but where maybe there is not so much of a tradition in the Indian culture. The ideal always is in inculturation that there is a creative fusion of two aspects, that neither of the cultures superimposes himself authoritatively on the other. That I do not from the Indian culture take it as a norm and only take what fits to me, or that I've come in, let's say from Schoenstatt or from the West, and say it has to be exactly like we did it to impose it. It always is that there are complementing elements, values from here and values from there. Now, of course, there might be elements which maybe in the Indian tradition are not so much there, but I would say there's still a question of inculturation because the situation in India kind of requires them for the future necessarily. So I believe that the Indian population as such is forced at that point to come to a new level of understanding of their own identity with these elements. Let me name whatever I can recognize and see. First of all, I believe there's the question of the new emphasis and awareness of the dignity of the individual. That means India is a society with a tremendous population, or with a tremendous density of population. Also on a certain poverty level with a lot of human personal needs. And that leads to the fact that often, at least that's my impression, human value, human life doesn't mean much. See? That means you exploit it whenever you can. There is uproar and things and people die. There is personal revenge and people are killed. It's simply there. See, human life seems to be cheap in this country. Understandable from history, but it cannot go on like this. As India becomes a modern society with a higher standard of living or so, it necessarily has to be complemented by the fact that the human person experiences itself with a great human dignity, and everybody, no matter what caste. And that, I believe, that Schoenstatt can contribute, because everything builds up on the personal value, on the personal freedom, on the personal identity, and that given to everybody, Okay, I'll leave it like this and continue exactly as this. Therefore also a new social awareness should be. That means the awareness we have is the awareness of, let's say, a relatively artificial separation in caste. What we understand from Father Kentany, or also from Christian social teaching, is that there's always differences. That means the human society everywhere makes differences. The higher society and lower society and worker society and academic society, because due to the unfolding of the personality, due to the training, there is distance, there is difference, and that creates a certain distance, and it's unreasonable to say they all should be equal, because they are not, and they don't feel comfortable with each other. However, there should be a possibility that everybody can easily shift from one level to the next, according to whatever capacity he has. And I believe also there a message of covenant, and a message of covenant which emphasizes the individual and then connects the individual on the level of love could help tremendously. We have wonderful examples in a society like Burundi, for instance, with the racial separations, and the only place where it helps was the center of Sion Kikungu, where they met together because they felt they belonged together. Something like this also should be here. And of course, with social awareness also comes also the economic question, that in a society, especially in a society like ours, where the rift between rich people and between poor people seems to become bigger and bigger, where there must be a formation, an education, an awareness process that the rich people have responsibility for the poor ones. They should not misuse it, they should not exploit it, but they should share it. And not in the sense of charity, but in the sense of social ruling, that there is much more fairness in common production, that I don't pay the least wages to people as much as I can, as long as I find workers, but that I share my profit fairly with those with whom I produce it, things like that. That awareness, that I believe has to be created, and that necessarily has to be created in a country like ours with such a tremendous growth. Now, with human dignity and social awareness goes together also the ecological awareness, I would say. In a society where so many things are produced, so many things can be bought, the danger, and I need only to mention it, the danger on the one hand that we exploit nature horribly, see, that we just take what we find in nature without protecting it, on the other hand, that we throw away whatever is left over. And both has a tremendous ecological implication. That means we spoil our water and we spoil our air and we spoil the nature, and if I see how much dump and dirt is laying around in society, then this increases. This is, I believe it's also a challenge for legislation. Now I have read that one of the states forbids plastic bags, cannot be in this country. No sale, no production, no nothing. But this is only an external regulation, what politics can do. The important thing is that we educate people to a different relationship to things, that they have more responsibility for things, that they use it with greater appreciation, and that if they dispose of it, that they do it responsibly and not throw it away and make it the burden in neighbor's garden, so to speak, symbolically speaking. But really, I have responsibility for whatever material goods I have, and also how dispose them and how I use them. And there, our spirituality of attachment to things and our spirituality of everyday sanctity can make a tremendous contribution. That also there we should feel responsible. And this pertains not only to what I possess, it pertains also to, let's say, public goods, it pertains also to public goods, it pertains to what the public owns, to public property, it pertains to public vehicles, it pertains to everything which is public, that I have an awareness that this also can be used, but should be preserved, should be used responsibly. And now I come to the last of my points. And there I would say, India needs a mission awareness, a mission consciousness. We are a country which is already on the verge of exercising world dominance. It means our influence is bigger and bigger. Our financial and economic power surpasses most other countries. We have our weight. And therefore we are already internationally involved in all kinds of things. And in a few more years, the Indian voice must be heard, just as the Chinese voice must be heard. And next to the European voice, and possibly the Japanese voice and the American voice anyways, but this is about it. See, this is about it. Now, if it is like this, as it happens, I believe that God gives with advance, with progress, with richness, gives mission and task and responsibility. And I believe this is what India needs. Not only look at our own selves, not only look at our own country, but develop a responsibility for the whole world. And this not only at an economic level or on a political level. We would have to educate people that they understand this on a Christian level. That at a Christian level, India should take responsibility for the world, for the whole world. See? that they not only receive missionaries as they have received since centuries, but rather that they go as missionaries to other countries to bring the good news in Indian cloth, not in European cloth, in Indian culture. In our way, we bring it, and in our originality. And this awareness and this responsibility, I believe, that is something which is needed. This is needed for the individual, that he is dedicated, that also the lay people are not objects of faith, but the lay people will understand that they have a mission in their professional area. They have a mission in their professional field, and they also have a mission beyond that in the whole country. And the same thing is true for bodies like Schoenstatt family or the church. Help the church that they have a mission awareness. So far, elements where I do not find too much in the Indian tradition, but where I see a tremendous challenge in the Indian present situation.